Your Excellencies, First Lady, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very warm welcome to the Warsaw Security Forum 2022. My name is Katarzyna. I'm a journalist, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here in the 9th edition of this two-day transatlantic conference, where we will be discussing the global security challenges that we face right now. We are joined by over 2,000 people here in Warsaw, many more joining us remotely online. So welcome to you all. It is wonderful for all of you who have traveled far, who are joining us from your homes, your offices. A welcome to every single one of you. Please get in touch with us. Your views, we would love to hear. The hashtag is what the young kids call it, is WSF 2022. Please do get in touch with us. We welcome your views. We've seen some great, fantastic comments already. We would love to have more. We want this to be as interactive as possible. Now, please let me welcome some very distinguished guests. In the room, join me in welcoming His Excellency Egils Levits, the President of the Republic of Latvia. His Excellency Mateusz Morawiecki, the Prime Minister of Poland. Her Excellency Ingrida Šimonytė, the Prime Minister of Lithuania. And the Warsaw Security Forum, as its guest of honor, very warmly welcomes Olena Zelenska, the First Lady of Ukraine. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'd also like to extend a very warm welcome to the Ministers of Foreign and European Affairs, the Ministers of Defence, the Ministers of Energy, the members of national and European parliaments, the Chiefs of Defence, the high-ranking NATO and EU officials, and the leading experts in international security and defence. We will greatly benefit from your experience and your expertise, so welcome to you all. I would like us all now to extend our very warm thanks to our hosts here today. Please join me in welcoming Professor Katarzyna Pisarska, the chair and co-founder of the Warsaw Security Forum.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear President Levits, Prime Minister Morawiecki, Prime Minister Šimonytė, Madam Zelenska, ministers, members of parliament, all honorable guests, and most importantly, friends of the Warsaw Security Forum. On behalf of the Casimir Pulaski Foundation, it is my immense pleasure to welcome you to the 9th edition of the Warsaw Security Forum. When we met last year, the world was still very much in the midst of the COVID pandemic. Security challenges for the transatlantic alliance and community were mounting, from US withdrawal from Afghanistan, growing tensions on the South China Sea, and surge of illegal migration, often weaponized, as in the case of the Polish-Belarusian border, by malign states. Most of us in this room did not expect the international situation to improve by 2020, did we? But I believe very few of us imagined that in the course of the next few months, Europe would be at war. And yet, here we are. The Russian invasion of sovereign Ukraine has dramatically changed the European security landscape, affecting first and foremost us, Central and Eastern Europe. As a consequence, the entire continent is experiencing multiple shocks in energy, economy, food security, with a huge spillover effect that is felt globally. But let me be crystal clear here. This war has not started on February 24th, 2022. It has been waged on us a long time ago by Vladimir Putin and his cronies. It is a war against democratic societies. It is a war against the rules-based international order. It is a war that we, the West, have ignored and downplayed for much too long. Just think about it. Cluster bombing of Grozny, 1999. Invading and occupying parts of Georgia, 2008. Committing endless war crimes in Syria and Mali, and finally annexing Crimea, which was then followed by an 8-year of protracted war against Ukraine and Donbass. On top of that, supporting anti-democratic movements, interfering in our elections, spreading disinformation, using chemical weapons as assassination techniques. The list of Russian international law violations just goes on and on and on and on. Then why has Russia successfully continued to deploy its wartime tactics in times of peace and escalated them? Because we did not react. Because we allow weakness to be ruthlessly exploited and used against us. And this evil would have continued to spread, leading us eventually to lose the war of not our choosing, a war of not our choosing, had it not been for the people of Ukraine. 7 months ago, our neighbor has stood against the second largest army in the world and shed blood to defend its sovereignty and democracy and territorial integrity. With that, it did not only fight for its freedom, but most importantly, it is fighting for ours. And it is thanks to the unwavering determination to name and oppose evil that today we stand a chance to win this war. With that, I would want to recognize every Ukrainian in this room and deliver words of gratitude on the hands of our guest of honor, First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska. Thank you for what you have been doing for freedom. However painful it is to say for me, war is no stranger to Poland. And it's no stranger to the city, Warsaw. The scars of the Second World War and those from the Russian occupation that would follow for the next 4 decades still run deep in Polish souls. Watching the horrific images coming from Ukraine, we relive our own history, one that should have never been repeated. And this is why, on February 24th, no one in this country remained indifferent. I remember the first weeks following the Russian invasion as through a haze. Our entire Casimir Pulaski Foundation, as millions of Poles, worked day and night to help however we could. We evacuated families of our Ukrainian friends, many here today. We donated our salaries to buy medical equipment and helmets. We were trying to find ways to transport people through the border when it was extremely difficult. It was a scary time, with many of us fearing that Kiev would fall within days and that the Russian army would eventually reach the Polish-Ukrainian border. But I also remember how impressed I was by our Ukrainian friends who, after arriving to Warsaw, often with very small children, immediately opened their laptops and began their work, creating networks of support, creating networks of advocacy on behalf of Ukrainian resistance and the war effort. And yes, Hania, Daria, Olena, I'm thinking of you. You have done the impossible possible. These actions bore tangible results and helped the transatlantic community unite. Seeing the determination of each Ukrainian to fight has contributed to an unprecedented unity among the West, growing military assistance for Ukraine, and EU sanctions against Russia. It was a collective victory of all of us, a moment to be proud of. But let's remember, this war is not over. It might not be over soon. And this is why we need the help of every person in this room. The Warsaw Security Forum, created in response to the 2014 Russian annexation of Crimea, has always brought policymakers, experts who understood the nature of the challenge that our transatlantic community faces. But this year, we need to be smarter, faster, more agile to create both policy recommendations, but most importantly, policies which will allow Ukraine to defeat Russia. The 9th edition of the Forum is historical not only because of the clarity of purpose, but also because of its size. With over 2,000 delegates, 200 speakers, 4 tracks, I know we can and will make a difference, because freedom comes to those who fight. With this, let me conclude by wholeheartedly thanking our partners, which for years now have been supporting the Warsaw Security Forum. I am grateful to our co-organizer, the German Marshall Fund of the United States, for creating and co-creating this event with us. I applaud our strategic partners, the National Security Bureau of Poland and Minister Paweł Soloch for supporting us, and of course NATO headquarters, who has made the Warsaw Security Forum its flagship event. I thank the 50 institutional corporate program partners, and finally, as Germany is the guest country of the 2020 edition, I want to recognize here our German guests and partners. Over 24 strong members of Bundestag delegation, many representatives of the German Federal Foreign Office, the German Defense Ministry, the German Embassy, who created and co-created with us this format, and numerous international partners and institutional partners. Ladies and gentlemen, as Albert Einstein once said, the world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it. I rest assured that the Warsaw Security Forum community gathered here today will continue to make the world a safer place with the collective actions we take on together every day. Thank you very much.
Professor Pisarska, thank you so much. And those words will continue to echo throughout today's conference, through this 2-day conference. The inaction, let's change that. Let's make action. Because having witnessed the tens of thousands of people fleeing Ukraine, we need to remember what is at stake here. I know you do every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming now to the stage Michał Baranowski, co-chair of this event and also from the Warsaw office of the German Marshall Fund of the US.
Welcome all. Madam First Lady, it's wonderful to have you with us. Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, Madam President of German Marshall Fund, Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Defense, ambassadors, and many, many friends and thinkers. It's wonderful to have you with us at this Warsaw Security Forum. We are meeting in a very dangerous moment. I don't have to tell you that this is a dark time that we are all threatened by the evil coming from the east. Many people are saying that the winter is coming, but we all know that worse thing can come from the east than winter. We are in a dangerous moment, but I would ask us all here to do a very hard and important work for the coming few days to really think past this very moment that we are finding ourselves in. When I was talking with Ukrainian friends, actually only last night, they reminded me that they said, we have crossed the line of fear. We have crossed the line of fear. I think this is where we need to find ourselves. We need to think beyond the very dangerous moment when we are threatened with nuclear weapons, when our friends in Ukraine are being killed, when it's really Ukraine that is standing between us and the aggressor. Thank you to our Ukrainian friends for being the shield of Europe. We know this. We will continue to be with you and advocate for you and support you, not because we are so generous. We are doing this in our own best interest. You have our back. We have your back. So thank you very much, especially Madame Zelenska. Ukraine has declared willingness and desire to join NATO. This is something that will certainly be a big topic of this year's forum. It's not an immediate prospect, but a prospect that nonetheless it's hard to imagine will not happen in the future. The future, the way we are discussing it already, goes beyond the evils of today, go beyond, frankly, the imperial Russia that is inflicting these evils on Ukrainians today, on Georgia yesterday, and perhaps, if we don't stop them, closer to our shores tomorrow. But the process, if we stick with it, the process of pushing back on imperialist Russia has a chance of creating a new European security order. And this is what I would ask us to think about. Think about new solutions and new destinations. The mistakes made by Russia, by Putin's Russia, are such that it's really very hard to imagine how they will ever be able to get from the corner that they put themselves into. So even though we are in dark times, let's imagine the order that comes beyond the horizon. Let's think about the new energy policy that can come out from us disentangling ourselves from energy ties with Russia. Let's think about the future of Europe. The guest country at this year's Warsaw Security Forum is Germany. I think we can imagine also a good future for Polish-German relations that could be an engine for support for Ukraine and creating this new European security order. These are all ideas that are at this moment beyond the immediate horizons. But if we continue the pressure, create the right security environment, this will also be the only way to deliver the Marshall Plan for Ukraine that my boss, Heather Conley, will speak to much more in the coming minutes. So this is the homework for us all. From the organizers, from the German Marshall Fund, from Pulaski Foundation, we are extremely happy to see you here, to be part of this year's Warsaw Security Forum. The place to talk about the future of European security order is here. It's here in Warsaw, on the borders of Ukraine, and on the eastern flank, given the gravity of the transatlantic alliance has shifted to the east. So with that, I wanted to thank you for joining us, and I wish you really a very fruitful days of discussion, debate, and really creative thinking. Thank you very much.